Okay, so thank you to the team at Inner Space in Bradford for inviting me, and good afternoon to all of you online. It's a good evening for me here where I am. And as Margaret was mentioning in the introduction, I've been based here in Turkey for actually around 21 years or so. And before that, I was in the UK for some time. And I came into this study and practice of meditation and self awareness when I was quite young, around 8 or 9 years old. So it's been pretty much a lifelong journey. And one of the things that became clear to me over the years is that each person, in a way, has two lives. And we have our outer life of study and career and travel and family and so on. But then also there is the inner life of our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our perceptions, etc. And as I grew up, I was quite surprised how little attention people pay to their inner world. And I believe that due to this imbalance of attention to the inner world and attention to the outer world, we have these stresses and strains that we have in the world today. And all of those stresses and strains are just a reflection of people's individual stresses and strains. And so I'm hoping that as we go through our session today, it'll become a little clearer how to understand the inner self and how this helps us to bring greater meaning into our own lives. Now, the image that you see on the flyer that was produced is of a person standing and looking out over a beautiful landscape. And in a way, you can see the same thing when you learn to look within you. And hence, it's often been said that humanity has traveled many, many miles, huge distances up that way into space. We've traveled huge distances across the earth, and we can circumnavigate the earth. We've traveled very far down into the oceans, but not even an inch this way in really understanding ourselves. And I believe that as we begin to make this inner journey of understanding the self, everything in our life falls into place. And hence it has been very beautifully said that you don't see the world as it is, but you see the world as you are. In other words, according to who you think you are, is how you will see the world. So, to start off, let me share what I consider to be three main categories of people in terms of how they approach life. And I would say the first category, and this is perhaps the biggest category, is people who are passengers in life. And so they have this approach to life that wherever life takes me, well, that's where I will go. And if something good happens, they feel great. If something not so good happens, they feel not so good. So lots of ups and downs in life. And they have this approach, well, what can I do? That's the way life is. And it's almost a kind of resignation as to I have no control over what life brings to me. And they feel as though life is making its decisions and they simply have to put up with it and just be dragged along with life. So, a kind of passenger on the train of life. And then a second group, which I would say is a smaller group, is those who fight with life, fighters. And these are people who often come into confrontation with life, often point fingers of blame at life and at people whom they don't agree with. They often have an aggressive energy where they're fighting a war inside their mind and are unhappy with things. And this creates a kind of tension in a person's mind. And you can feel that tension quite clearly in the company of such a person. And even the face looks as though that person is in a more or less constant state of war with life. But then there's the smallest group, and I would think that all of us are interested in being in that group, and that's of those who are explorers. And explorers means those who look at life and, yeah, they may not be completely content with what's happening in the world or what's happening in their own lives, but rather than fighting life, rather than being upset or feeling down, they want to explore how life works. They want to look behind the clock face and see how the wheels are turning. They want to understand the mechanism of why things happen the way they happen. And I would say that such people are interested to explore the hidden spiritual principles behind life. And when one goes on this journey of exploring the spiritual principles behind life, then life becomes very meaningful, very rich, very interesting. It becomes an adventure. And you also have a waking up moment, which some call an aha moment or the eureka moment, where you realize that what is happening outside you is in fact some part a projection of what's happening inside you. Certainly, your relationship with yourself impacts your relationship with other people, how people treat you, and the circumstances which happen in your life. And I'd like to share a great sentence, which was, a big wake-up call for me. And this is this: that life is not happening to you, but life is responding to you. Now, I'm going to say that again. Life is not happening to you. Life is responding to you. And so this then raises the question, and it asks the individual, what kind of signals, what kind of messages am I sending out into life, which life is bringing back to me in the form of relationships, situations, and circumstances? And it places responsibility and choice firmly in my own hands. And so when one is in this explorer mindset, then tendencies such as complaining, criticizing, fighting, holding grudges, all those things begin to disappear from your life, because you understand that rather than paying attention to what I don't like about life, let me pay attention to how I wish to respond to life. I may not be able to control what life brings to me, but I can absolutely control how I choose to receive it. And so the attention goes on that part rather than why this happens to me or why this does not happen to me. So we're going to explore one or two of those mechanisms behind life to understand what is behind the clock face. Now, let's look at work. Normally, I would ask people to raise their hands as I ask these questions. Why do you go to work? So those of you who have a job, those who go to work, of course, things have changed a little in the last year, but why do you go to work? And so I'd like to suggest there are three main categories of people when it comes to reasons for going to work. And each of these reasons is connected with a lifestyle. So perhaps the majority of people go to work because it's a job. And since it's a job, I get paid. And so such a person goes to work, enters the office, works for a number of hours, clocks out, goes home, and that's it. And he or she only goes to work simply to pick up a paycheck at the end of the month. So no real interest perhaps in the job, but it's just a way to get some money. And the lifestyle that this is connected to is what we may describe as the pleasurable life. So such a person needs the money in order to fund the pleasure-based activities, maybe travel, holidays, attending social events, weddings, etc., and so on. So I need to go to work to get money to fund my life to have a good time. So that's perhaps one reason why people go to work. Then a second reason could be people go to work because they want to develop a career. So it's not just a job, but they are career minded. And so such a person has some kind of plan in mind that, well, after 1 year in the company, I want to be here. After 3 years, I want to reach this position. And maybe after so many years, I want to be there. And so there's some kind of plan there as to why he or she goes into work. And such a person will spend extra hours perhaps in the office and make sure he or she is noticed by the bosses working hard. Such a person will, keep the door open for the boss and laugh at the boss's jokes and just make sure that they are in the good books in order to make that progression in career. And the lifestyle that this type of person is chasing is what we may call as the good life in inverted commas. The good life, or you may call it as the so-called successful life. And that's the life where you've kind of made it, especially in the eyes of friends and relatives. You're seen driving the right kind of car, eating in the right restaurants, you're wearing the right labels, you're maybe going on holiday to, the places associated with a successful family. And so that kind of chasing the good life or the successful life. So that's another reason why people are going to work. But then there's the smallest group. And that's where a person goes to work because she or he has found their vocation. Now, that's something to find your vocation, to find your calling in life, to find your raison d'etre, as it were, your reason to be, why you are here. And people who are interested in living such a life where they have found their vocation, the kind of life that they lead and they're interested to live in is the meaningful life. So, not just a pleasurable life, not just the good life, but a meaningful life. And there are people, and I have met some of them, who even choose to take a pay cut in order to follow their vocation and lead a meaningful life. Their sense of satisfaction comes because they feel they're doing something meaningful in their life, that their time is not just spent in simply making money and then after making money having fun, but no, the whole life should have some kind of meaning to it. And so a person who wishes to lead a meaningful life will ask herself or himself some deep and poignant questions, such as why do I get out of bed in the mornings? Where am I going? Why am I doing what I'm doing? At the end of the day, when my time is over, what really matters? How do I define success? What's really important to me? How can I contribute? How can I be useful? And these kinds of questions, if you dwell upon them, it helps you to take you to the very, what I call as the DNA of your spirit, to the very core of your soul. And as you begin to discover the answers to these questions, and you begin to live in the answers and with the answers, you feel highly motivated because your life is actually a reflection of who you are. Think of these two things. There is what you're doing, and there is what you're being. Now, generally, for I would say many people, there is a chasm, there is a big gap between who they are and what they do. And that's why many people don't like their job, or they feel frustrated with their job, or they're looking for another job always. But how it should be, ideally, is that my doing should be a reflection of my being. Now, it doesn't happen that I will automatically find the right thing to do without exploring the being part first. And I believe that that's the part we need to explore in order really to bring greater meaning into our lives. Let me share a little bit about intelligence here. And it's one of those words which has taken on many different meanings over, over the years. But there's three main kinds of intelligence that I think we need in order to lead a meaningful and successful life. So I have this expensive visual aid here, which is going to help me, I hope. Yeah, hoping you can see that. Right, there we are. So basically three main intelligences we have. And this is the one, of course, that we all know about. And that's your IQ, rational intelligence, reason, logic, analysis, and so on. And then there's this one here, which is our EQ. And that's what you need when you're dealing with people. IQ you need when you're dealing with things, resources, etc. EQ you need when you're dealing with people. Emotional intelligence, being able to manage your moods and your emotional landscape and so on. But the one we're more focusing on today is this one here, SQ. And that's to do with your relationship with yourself. How well do you know yourself? And sometimes SQ is described as a combination of IQ and EQ. But what I have found with regard to people who, in my view, have a high SQ, a high spiritual quotient, two signs I have noticed in those people. One is that they own their motivation. Now, motivation has two main types. One is what we describe as outer motivation or emotional motivation. And emotional motivation is very quick, fast acting, but also it finishes quickly. So, for example, in a work situation, a boss may say, well, I'll give you a company car. So somebody gets motivated. I'll give you a pay rise. I'll give you your own office. And it's a very quick motivation, a quick thrill, but it doesn't last very long. Then the other kind of motivation is this inner motivation or spiritual motivation. And that's the one which is based upon really knowing yourself, knowing who you are, knowing why you are doing whatever it is you are doing. And so a person who has high SQ, their motivation is with them, not just through their job, but through their life, their home life, their family life, their social life, whatever they do. It's like the red thread which passes through every area of their life. And even if such a person fails at something, they don't lose their motivation. In fact, their motivation can increase where they get even more determined to get it right next time. Now, each person can only find their motivation by themselves. And I'm hoping that with some of the tools I'll share in a moment, it'll help you also in your own journey. Second sign of people with high SQ, which I've observed, and I must say, some of these things I'm sharing are from some remarkable people I've met over the years, in addition to my own experiences. Second sign is a person with high SQ has a very deep-seated sense of contentment. They don't lose their contentment even when they face adversity, when they are criticized, when things are not going according to the plan that was created. Again, why? Why is it that such a person is able to maintain contentment and motivation? It's because they don't just live on the surface. When we live on the surface, then I'm happy because something good happened. I am depressed because something bad happened. I am puffed up because I received attention or somebody was nice to me. And I feel deflated if I'm ignored. So all that is like living on the surface of life. And it's kind of a state of spiritual immaturity when we have all these ups and downs. But to be able to go below the surface, understand the mechanism of life, understand who I am, where I'm going, why I am doing what I'm doing, this puts the reins of your life in your own hands. And hence, you find that you're able to actually imbue meaning and significance into the events in your own life. Now, three things that I find are important components of SQ, and I've touched on them already. Perhaps the main one is understanding the question of purpose. Now, it's a big question. What is the purpose of my own life? Now, what effect is this going to have upon us when we explore it? And let me show you my second visual aid here. So here is a person who wants to make some changes in life. So she or he is rather fed up with the way things are and says, well, I need to make some change in life. And so each of these arrows represents an idea. So, for example, I need to get a new car. I need to get a new job. I need to when I move to another part of town, I need to change the way I look. I need to get some new friends in my life. So all of these are wonderful ideas that this person has in order to have a more fulfilling life. But Can you see a problem? Now, the problem is all of these arrows are going in different directions. They're all counterproductive. And so after 6 months, this person will still have lots of good ideas, but none of them will become practical. Why? Because the mind is going in too many directions at the same time. There's no sense of clarity, no sense of focus. And again, I find that a lot of people are like that, defocused, and they really don't know what they want. I'm reminded of a quote that a friend of mine often uh, mentions from the book Alice in Wonderland, where Alice asks the rabbit, there are a number of roads, and Alice asks the rabbit, which road should I take? And the rabbit says, well, if you don't know where you want to go, then it doesn't really matter which road you take. So before knowing where I want to go, I need also to know who I am. Now, here is the same person. After that person has attended a talk such as the one we're doing today. So there you see, there's one main sense of direction, one main focus here. And all of the other arrows have been magnetized and are going in the same direction. So the new car, the new house, maybe the new look, maybe new qualifications, friends, all the other changes in life have been magnetized by this one main arrow. Now, the big question is, well, what is this one big main arrow? How do you get this in order for the rest of you to also be moving in the same direction? How do I reach that place where every part of me, emotionally, mentally, intellectually, is all heading in the same direction, the result of which is my life actually moves forward? Now, that one big main arrow, that is what is known as purpose. When I'm clear about my sense of purpose, naturally the mind becomes focused. And where there is focus, you're actually able to move forward in your life and achieve whatever it is that you are trying to achieve. There's a wonderful saying, and it's also something I've experienced, that success respects focus more than it respects intelligence. So there are many intelligent people out there with high IQs who may not be so successful because their mind is not focused. And yet there are other people who are maybe so-called less intelligent, a lower IQ, but because they're focused, they're able to be successful and reach their goals. And so this raises the question then, well, how can I discover my sense of purpose? Now, for some of you, you may already have been on this journey of exploration. And I would say, certainly in my own experience, when I began to reflect on this question, what really is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I doing here in this world? The answer didn't come straight away. But yet, because I was asking that question sincerely to myself, I noticed that life began to give me clues. And I began to join the dots, and a picture began to form. And I believe that this is true for every person, because finding a sense of purpose in your life is not creative work. It's not about thinking, well, what should I make into my purpose? What sounds good? No. But the thing is, the purpose is already there. It simply has to be discovered. It has to be detected. That's the good news. Every single person, every single soul has a unique spiritual DNA. Every soul has something unique to offer to the world. And because people's minds are so busy today, it's difficult for them to listen to their own inner wisdom talking to them. And this is where meditation is extremely useful because it helps to make the mind quiet. And when the mind is quiet, you're able to listen to your own inner wisdom guiding you. Now, we'll do a little exercise in purpose in just a moment. But having mentioned meditation and slowing down our mind, I'd like now to just to do with you a little reflection in just slowing the mind down and just visiting that inner silence, that inner quietness. So just invite you to, if you can, just have your back straight for a moment. And if you're sitting on a chair, your back straight, your feet flat on the floor. I'm just going to lead you through a simple visualization. And I'm also going to play a little bit of soft music in the background, which can also just to help in the concentration. All right, if you wish, you can just close your eyes. And so we just take a few moments just to relax the body and relax the mind. Just to allow the thoughts to slow down. So for a few moments, I choose to step back from the world of doing, the world of action, into the world of my thoughts, the world of being. I want to allow my thoughts just to slow down. And so bring into your mind the image of a room of peace in the center of your forehead. A quiet and peaceful place. Your quiet room in the center of your forehead. A place where you are safe, secure, relaxed. The place where you can be yourself. Inside your quiet room of peace, you can let go of your daily roles and responsibilities. And you are free from the pressures and the demands of the outside world. And just allow your mind to breathe. Just allow your mind to absorb this atmosphere of serenity, tranquility. And as you do so, the thoughts begin to slow down. And you can dwell upon the ideas you wish to see more clearly. As an individual, what is really important to me? What do I value the most? How would I define success in life? What do I have the most to offer to the world? How can I bring greater meaning into my life? The answers to these questions are already within myself. All I need to do is to be open for clues and signals. And just allow my mind to be still and listen to my wisdom. Okay, so I'm hoping that was useful for you. Some of you, I would expect many of you already do meditation. For those for whom it was new, it's very simple and very effective just to slow down your thoughts and make it a practice to do regularly, to listen to your own inner wisdom. So let me move on a little. I see Margaret there, but I haven't finished yet, Margaret. Got one or two more things to say. But just coming to this idea of purpose. Now, how to get some more clarity on purpose. And again, I share with you what has been useful for me is that everything which exists has its own purpose. And purpose is just another way of saying, what is this useful for? How does it help? Or what is the function of something? So everything in nature, for example, has a purpose. The sun has its own purpose. The moon, the trees, the wind, the sea, the flowers, everything has its own purpose. In other words, they all add something to life, to the ecosystem, to the whole, to the whole matrix of life, as it were. Also, inanimate objects have their own purpose. They're useful in some way. So, for example, here, I have this pen here, and I could ask you, well, what's the purpose of this? Now, I'll answer for you. So you'll say, well, so I can write something. Yeah, so the purpose of the pen is to write. So that's how it's useful, that I can put ideas onto paper and I can see them. What's the purpose of these, for example, these screen, um, they block the light from the screen. So what's their purpose is they help the eyes they protect the eyes from the glare of the screen. What else do we have here? What's the purpose of this thing, which has appeared over the last few years? Well, it's a tripod for the mobile phone. So its purpose is to be able to hold the mobile phone. So everything has its own purpose. In other words, everything is useful in some way. And even the things in front of you in your own room, they all have some kind of purpose. If there was something in a room which had no purpose, then a friend or a visitor may ask you, well, why do you have that there? So let's just take an example. Let's say you have an elephant standing in the corner of your room. A visitor may say, well, why do you have this elephant standing here? Which means, how is it useful? How does it help? So if everything has its own purpose, if everything is useful in some way, then the question for you and me is, what are you useful for? Now, this causes you to look at yourself and say, yeah, what am I useful for? Now, your life up to this point is a kind of map which shows you what is inside you. And so you begin to look at times in your life when you felt very motivated, because purpose is always something that you like, something you feel passionate about, something which motivates you, literally, which moves you inside, something which excites you, something which causes the hairs on the back of your neck to stand up. And somebody else's purpose, no matter how nice it sounds, may not be your purpose at all. Purpose is always connected with being useful in some way or of being of service to others. When a person is literally living on purpose, in alignment with their purpose, their life becomes very useful to other people. It could be for family, it could be for society, it could be for a certain group of people. Every soul is different. Every soul has something unique to offer to the big theater of life. It's up to me to listen to myself and to find out what is it that I have most to offer to life. And as I mentioned before, this is detective work which only you can do for yourself. It's not somebody will come along and tell you, this is your purpose. No, it's by listening to myself, being open to signs and signals. Yeah, and things happen in quite, let's say, dramatic ways that when you're really authentically and sincerely wanting to understand that, stuff like this happens. You see somebody walking past, and on that person's t shirt will be written a certain word, which exactly is what you need to see at that moment. Or you see a poster as you're driving past in the road, and it'll tell you exactly the answer to a certain question you have. Yeah, as it is often said that the universe responds. When we are authentic, when we're ready to look for the answer, the universe responds and begins to provide that. So I found that in my own life, that sincerely looking for the answer by asking myself the question, I've begun to see signs and signals from around me, which have helped to make things clearer. One last thing I want to touch upon, again to do with purpose. The question which often I would say young people have, and when I was in my late teens, early 20s, it was a big question for me. What should I do? What's the right thing for me to do in terms of job, in terms of what kind of life do I want to lead? Then I realized that the reason I couldn't really get an answer which I was satisfied with from myself was because it was the wrong question. The wrong question is, what should I do? But the question before that, the right question, the first question is, who am I? If I know who I am, I will know what I should be doing. Now, going back to this, now because I know this is a pen, therefore I know what to do with it. I should write with it. Now, if there were a person who, let's say, a visitor from an alien world who didn't know what this was, he would use it for the wrong purpose. He may think, what is it? Is it a weapon that you're supposed to throw at somebody? Is it something to brush your teeth with? Because you know what this is, so you know what to do with it. So the question comes to the self, who am I? How do I identify myself? What is my spiritual identity beyond my social identity? And that then brings in the whole question of exploring spirituality. It's a whole other subject. But that is where, as I started off at the beginning saying, you don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. Exploring identity is really the first step on the ladder towards leading, fulfilling a meaningful and a purposeful life. So I'll just kind of summarize it in these three things. And again, it's just an invitation for you to continue your own exploration, sense of purpose, sense of direction, and sense of identity. These three things help you to get focused, especially when you may be going through some kind of emotional storm or your mind may be caught up in some confusion. Identity, who am I? Direction, where am I going? Purpose, why am I doing what I am doing? The answers may not come straight away, but if we go on this journey of exploring these questions for the self, then you find the mind becomes very focused and you'll move ahead in your life. And naturally, when you feel you're making progress in something, your level of happiness rises, sense of motivation increases, and you do have that extra bounce in your step because you feel you actually have something to offer to life and offer to the world. So I think I need to stop there, and let me hand over to Margaret for further instructions. Yeah, I see there are some questions in the chat
Yes.
box there. So somebody asks, anxiety is so high. I struggle to keep my eyes closed during meditation. Can I keep them open? I'm delighted to hear that question because usually people ask the other way. They say, I find it difficult to keep them open. Can I keep them closed? In fact, in the meditation that we do, which is known as Raja Yoga meditation, it is open-eyed meditation. And what I did with you today, since I was assuming that many are beginners, I did a kind of pre-meditation, which I call as a visualization with eyes closed, because generally people find that a little easier. But when you come into, let's say, real meditation or deep meditation, then yeah, we do keep the eyes open. So if that's already easier for you, then that's great. You know, and let me add also that one of the reasons why we suggest open-eyed meditation is because the aim is this, that as you move through day-to-day life, you're walking, you're talking to people, you're interacting. So of course your eyes are open. So the aim is that my mind, my thoughts should be in my control, even in daily and waking life. And if I'm used to meditating only with eyes closed, it means I have to sit down somewhere. So Raja Yoga meditation actually is a living meditation. It's like being in a living in a natural state of meditation, and therefore open-eyed meditation is actually what we suggest in the long term. Okay, should I just keep going through the questions,
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes, please.
Okay, can someone's purpose be negative? That's an interesting one. I haven't heard that put like that before, but I think not. Uh, I think that purpose is always something useful, something positive, something which actually is of some kind of service, whether it's to, to nature or to people or to the animal world, but in some way adding something useful to the mix of life. Sometimes you see, certain behavior which seems very negative, but I think in the long run, we all have something useful to add to life. Then, when meditating, how do you find inner wisdom? You mentioned. Well, as I was mentioning, that the inner wisdom is already there, but because the mind is too noisy, too many thoughts, too many desires, too many emotions, so we can't hear that wisdom speaking to us. It's rather like trying to listen to a voice in a storm. You know something is there, but you can't make it out. So I would say this, that it's not just that, you sit and meditate and you discover that inner wisdom. It's part of it. But if you live as a meditator, then naturally you're learning to make the mind calm. And then your inner wisdom will be working for you not only at the time of meditation, but it'll be constantly active. And this is where I make the distinction between people who meditate and people who are meditators. So to meditate means just to sit, and you're doing it for some time, once or twice a day, which is not bad. But to be a meditator means as you go through day to day life, going to work and traveling, doing whatever you do, one part of you is naturally aware and checking to see, what kind of thoughts am I having? Am I wasting my thought energy? Am I overthinking? Am I overspeaking? And so there's like a natural vigilance. And because of that, you're saving your thought energy, and you're learning to direct your mind in, let's say, a constructive and purposeful direction, rather than just allowing it, to wander all over the place during the day. So if you make meditation into a lifestyle, the mind is naturally becoming calm, which allows the inner wisdom to be activated. And it will guide you, it will work for you, even in your daily decisions. How to deal with the person, how to handle a situation. So it'll be a part of daily life rather than something you especially try to access only in meditation. Third one here, our educational system is mostly concerned with the training of the intellect, improving IQ, so a student can attend a most prestigious university. How to train a teenager for improving SQ as well as IQ? Question actually is from the same person, I think. Well, my own experience, because I passed through my teen years. Obviously, I was going to school and so on. But also in my own experiences, I was attending the meditation center. And in our case, it was the BK, the Brahma Kumari Center, when I used to live in the east of London. So it's like I was having my IQ education at school, but I was having my SQ, my spiritual education, also at the same time in the meditation center. And I feel quite fortunate, to have been exposed to both of those as I grew up. And yeah, I do think that, if people can be introduced to that side of things fairly early on in life, they become emotionally more healthy and more balanced and more pleasant human beings when the SQ side is being given attention as they grow up through life. So, maybe Margaret can tell us more about other activities at Inner Space, which anybody is welcome to attend. Question 3. Hello, how can I be strong enough about my purpose when everybody around me wants to stop what I want to do? Thank you. Well, my experience is this, that if I'm really clear about my purpose, and if I am honestly connecting with my purpose, which means it's in my mind. I'm connecting my mind to my purpose. Life will begin to cooperate with me. So here I see Alex three energies. There's me, there's other people, and also situation, circumstances. And here is like my purpose and my values. So let me not connect directly with people and try and make them behave the way I want them to. Let my mind be connected with my sense of purpose. Keep it in my mind. Be honest to it. Be true to my purpose. This will have an effect upon people around me, and they will begin to cooperate with me. Now, it may not happen overnight, but I do believe that when challenges come in life, if I'm being authentic, those challenges are only there to see how determined am I to really live my purpose. Will I stop at the first hurdle, or will I continue to live my purpose? Any kind of change is always challenged. And it's not like a kind of violent force. You know, there's a distinction between force and power. The energy which most people use is force, which is kind of an aggressive energy. But to connect to my purpose is the energy of non-violence, which I call as power. And I do believe that connecting with my higher purpose is going to influence the minds of people around me. Their attitude towards me will begin to change. It takes time sometimes, but my experience and what I've observed in many others I know is that this is how it works. That life is not between me and other people, actually. It's between me and the principles of life, the mechanism of life, the mechanism of spirituality. And if I'm working with that in my life, other people will naturally be influenced by that. Any advice to keep the eyes open due to very dry eyes despite blinking? Well, I would say this that start with open eyes, and if it does feel uncomfortable, then close them. But try not to keep them closed. Try to open them again, and so gradually it'll become more and more easy to keep them open. But it shouldn't be like you're forcing yourself. It shouldn't be you're feeling uncomfortable. So if you do have dry eyes or other issues, take your own time. But the main thing is the concentration of the mind during the meditation. That's the thing really to focus upon. Some people find their purpose late, always knew what I wanted to do, now retired. I just want to concentrate on this knowledge and learn more about my strengths and weaknesses and how to change. Great. I think that's a comment. That's great. Yeah, I really feel every single person, regardless of what stage of life they're at, has something to offer to life, to other people. You may know that the founder of our spiritual organization was 60 when he started on these ideas, living with these ideas. So it's never too late for anyone. Can others be an IB? I'm not sure what that is. I think that sentence is not complete. Can others be an IB? Another comment, not all subjects. Again, I'm not sure what that means. Question 5 here. Why is it when you believe in your inner feelings, they turn out to be wrong? Why is it when you believe in your inner feelings, they turn out to be wrong? The opposite happens. Well, we have to look at our motives and our desires as well. So there are feelings and there are deeper feelings. And I use the word, there is the mind, but below the mind there is the heart. So the mind, the feelings which the mind can have, can be motivated sometimes, for example, by some desire, some fear, some jealousy, um, all these kinds of emotional type energies. And if I'm being motivated by those energies, then usually there isn't a good result to that. But going beyond the realm of the mind, you come to the heart. And the heart I describe as that very pure state of our inner being. And my experience is that when the feelings come from that part of the self, then they really lead you towards true prosperity. They lead you towards true happiness. It is sometimes said, the mind has its machinations. The mind plays games. The mind throws shadows at you. And there again, if we build a meditation and stillness into our life, we can go beyond the games of the mind and really touch the heart and understand myself at the heart level, which is what I really truly want at the deepest level of myself. And there's one beautiful saying, that probably exists in most cultures, that when your heart is clean, that which you really desire will come to you by itself. It's a phenomenal thing to know, because in the world, the way we are conditioned is run after your desires and make them happen. But there's a lot of struggle involved in that, and sometimes conflict with others. But if I work on cleaning the heart, which is cleaning my intentions, cleaning my motives, what I really deep down want, life will bring to me. This is the power of cleanliness, the power of spirituality. Be an obstacle to achieve my purpose. Okay, it's probably connected to a half sentence earlier. Can others be an obstacle to achieve my purpose? I'm putting the two together now. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. But you've used the right word, obstacle. So obstacles are there for me to overcome. Obstacles are not there to stop me. But an obstacle is asking me, can you find a way over me? So yeah, I've also experienced that. But then, I've always focused upon what is it that I need at this moment to overcome this obstacle. And it's always connected with some form of virtue. So sometimes I need determination. Sometimes I need courage. Sometimes I need to let go. Sometimes I need to forgive. Sometimes I need kindness. If you focus upon the virtues in your life, in particular situations, that's what helps you to get over the obstacle. But also bear in mind that if you want to live a life of virtue, you also need patience, because virtues, they travel a little bit slow, but at the end of the day, you do reach the destination. And the more virtue I imbibe in my character, the more easily I will pass through the obstacles which may come in the future. The power of virtue is to be leveraged and really used in our daily lives. And where are we now? Conscience, how you define, how do I know that I'm aligned with it? Well, conscience is one of the components of our intellect, and it's that part of us which is like inbuilt into every soul, which will tell me when I am doing something which is going against uh, values. Quite simply put, if I'm doing something which is going to cause sorrow to someone, a simple example, initially the conscience will bite. It'll tell you this is a wrong thing to do, don't do it. If I push my conscience away, if I ignore my conscience, if I suppress my conscience, then it's going to become weaker. It's not going to bite as firmly as before. And so sometimes there is a person who has really abused their conscience. It kind of stops working. And as a result, the person does a lot of actions which hurt other people. And at the same time, he or she is accumulating something called negative karma without realizing. as a result of abusing their own conscience. How do I know I'm aligned with it? Well, again, I feel that as you go through your daily life, check the level of contentment I have with myself. Are my actions really reflecting my value system? If I'm aligned and living with my conscience, inside I'll feel light, I'll feel happy, um, I'll be able to wake up easily, the head will not feel heavy, I'll be able to make decisions easily, I won't hold on to things of the past, I'll be able to face situations without fear or indecision. My relationships with other people will become smooth and harmonious. All of these are the result of living really in alignment with conscience, acting on the basis of my own conscience. They say, do they not, the softest pillow is a clean conscience. So even the sleep will be deep and restful. Just need to check the timing, Margaret. Should I keep going?
How many more questions have you got in your chat box?
Oh, actually, only one more. Ah, yeah, just one more. How can you stop going to sleep when meditating? Well, first thing just to mention is if you are feeling a little bit tired or sleepy before meditation, then sleep. Don't meditate. Otherwise, you'll be battling sleep in the meditation. If you want to do meditation, then make sure you're fully awake and alert. So if you're a little bit drowsy, but you still want to meditate, then wake yourself up. You may have some tea or coffee, for example, or get some fresh air. Some people even take a shower if they really want to be alert. And also make sure you're not sitting too comfortably. Be alert with your back straight. For some people, it helps to have a meditation commentary, which keeps their intellect busy during the meditation. Keep the eyes open, have something to focus upon, like an image, or as you know, in our center, we use that point of light image. So, physically, to be awake and aware is important before you start the meditation. And, intellect should be active rather than passive. Like, don't wait for peace to visit you. It's not going to happen. But rather, use a commentary if it helps you. And there are many you can use, which is going to direct you towards an experience in meditation. Okay, some people's purpose seems to result in harming others. Why is this? Again, I think I kind of touched upon it earlier, but this also brings, into question another whole area which is not our topic today, and that's something called the law of karma, which I see in four ways: is the law of action and reaction, the law of cause and effect, the law of choice and consequence, the law of effort and reward. And so, in today's very mixed up world, um, things seem not to make sense. Why do good things happen to bad people? Why do bad things happen to good people? All of that, including this why does it seem as though this person's purpose is to harm others? There's a whole karmic story behind it. And so that needs to be understood to really, to answer these questions properly. So, but thanks. These are great questions. I enjoyed reading them and responding to them as well. Okay.
Yogesh, thank you for your SQ, your wisdom, your clarity, and that patience that you've built up over many, many years practicing from a child. It's been very lovely. I wondered if you would do a short meditation for us, just a short one, and then I can give some advertisements.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so should I play a little bit of music again?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So again, short meditation. If you like, just to again, just have your back straight. So again, we take a few moments to step back, and this time I ask myself the question, who am I? I know in daily life I play many different roles. I carry various responsibilities. I wear various labels and masks. But there is more to me than simply this. And when I look in the mirror, I see the reflection of my face, my body. But there is more to me than just this. And so I bring my awareness up to the center of my forehead. And here I picture a beautiful star of peaceful light. Picture this wonderful star of peaceful energy in the center of your forehead. And from this star of peace, rays of peaceful and healing energy radiate throughout the body. This wonderful star of peaceful light, this is me. This is I, the eternal soul. I, the soul, I am light. I, the soul, I am eternal. I, the soul, I am peace. just be with this feeling of peace in your mind for a few moments. Okay, thank you.
Thank you again. And thank you for everyone joining in. But I would like to give you some more information of what's happening in the coming week. First of all, on Tuesday, we have more meditation practice for you, creative meditation. If you've enjoyed Yogesh's meditation, a taste, if you've not been used to doing it, then please join us. It's Tuesday evening, 6 till 7 p.m, and it's on the Zoom, same meeting, the same Zoom number that you've been on tonight. And then on Thursday evening, we'll be looking at virtues, powers, and qualities, how they impact your life. And these are the values that are intrinsic to us